Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I would like to start the video off by thanking Mike Martins. Mike Martins had me on his show last night. Had a great long talk, probably a good, probably hour and 15 minutes or so. Covered all kinds of good stuff. And, Mike was one of the first people who had reached out to me on YouTube as another YouTuber out there wanting to help my channel as far as promoting it and helping to build my subscribers. I really thank Mike. He gave me a lot of the confidence to continue on with making videos and just trying to be a consistent YouTuber. Um, he really helped me out there in the early days. So I really thank Mike, and I was really glad to be on his show last night. And like I said, it was a great talk. Got a mail call for you, so we'll open up that here in just a second. Thought I'd talk about just some of the things that are taking place here in the economy right now. One of the things that I laughed at, I didn't even read the article. I'm not interested in listening to anything else that has to do with the stimulus until it passes. Like once it passes, then I'm going to read in on it. And it's not a bad idea to read some of these proposals that are coming out, but to me it's a bunch of noise right now that I'm just not really wanting to focus in on. But what I found interesting in one of the statements that came from Steve Mnuchin is that he said that we're going to take it serious, this stimulus package, this debate, because before they weren't serious. Now we're getting serious. Playtime, that's over. It's just ridiculous, some of these things that these guys say. So anyway, I found that to be a funny statement coming from Steve Mnuchin talking about how we're going to get serious about the stimulus package now. And it's obvious that from the Federal Reserve and a lot of the economists out there that without another stimulus package coming from the government, so like the Federal Reserve, they're pretty much out of bullets, right? They can't lower interest rates any farther. They really have no way of stimulating the economy. They are basically dependent on the government to stimulate the economy with more fiscal stimulus, whether they go into massive government programs of some sort or just, straight up, delivering checks in the mail to us, like they did similar, with like the stimulus checks. The Federal Reserve has had a lot of talk lately, a lot of talk about digital wallets and central bank digital currencies and direct injections of money into these accounts that we can spend freely into the economy during the next downturn. And they're anticipating it. They know it's coming. Now, how quickly, who knows? But they plan on having this currency up and running by 2023. So I would imagine that we are should expect a downturn in the next couple of years, just simply because the Federal Reserve needs a downturn in order to introduce the Fed coin, and they are saying that they're probably going to be introducing the Fed coin in 2023. So it just leads me to believe that even they are anticipating that there's going to be some sort of downturn come 2023 at least, in order to, or at least a significant one enough for them to introduce this cryptocurrency or not a cryptocurrency, I shouldn't call it that, this central bank digital currency into the system using the Fed coin digital wallets or however they plan on doing it. But that's kind of what I see taking place on that end of things. All this. I don't follow politics. A lot of you know that. Like, I do not bring politics into this channel. I don't, or I mean, I have accidentally. Like, I've said stuff, but for the most part, I really just don't even follow politics at all. I didn't watch the presidential debate. Didn't see it. And I was listening to people talk about it, and they were just talking about I guess, like, the ridiculousness of it. And it was funny because as I was listening to him talk about this, I was thinking, then why did you waste your time? Did they say anything in this debate that had changed your opinion of who they are? Or did it just confirm more of what you believe? Do we really need these presidential debates to occupy your mind? If they were conducted a little differently, from what I understand, since I didn't see it, how would I know? But if they were conducted differently, if they were conducted in a way where, you know, where you could draw out the actual opinions of the person, then I think you would probably have a much more productive, reasonable debate to come from it. But as far as I can tell from listening to the people out there, it was more of a clown show than it was any kind of real presidential debate. But it's going to occupy everybody's minds coming into the November election. And I have a feeling that during this preoccupied mind state that people are going to be in, there's going to be a lot of economic activity taking place that we are not going to be quite aware of in the forefront up there in the news. Like, it won't be noticed. So we're going to have to keep our eyes closely on that, because they really like to do things when people's focus are in another area. You know, I mean, a good example of this is like, I think back. Does anybody remember what else was taking place when everybody was talking about the wall? Remember the border wall? I mean, it was the only thing that people were talking about for a while. I heard of guys around here who wanted to take their firearms, go down and protect the border. And I was like, "Are you nuts? What are you what are you, what are you going to go do with that? That is a ridiculous statement to make. You can't go down to the border and protect it. I'm going to stand there with my gun. What are you thinking? Come on, man." But nobody was talking about the what was it, FASB 56? Is that what it was? 57? I should have looked it up before. I didn't even think of that, looking that up. I just remember during that time, they were passing laws, and see, it's funny because they basically tell you what they're going to do, and then let's not talk about it again after that. So if you're not aware of it at the time it's taking place and then recall it later, then you'll never know about it. But right now, they have basically set up two sets of books and numbers. The ones that they present for us to look at, and then everything else that's undercover. And now they say, this is the government saying, that although they present these numbers in a way that wouldn't affect your investments, they do it in a way that protects the government from national security reasons. Okay, at least that's what they say. So everything that you look at as far as the numbers, the unemployment, all the numbers out there that they flash and talk about on the news and report and everything else is 100% fabricated. I mean, sure, some of them are probably 100% accurate, but you don't know which ones, and you don't know where in the game that they're messing with the what industry, whatever. I mean, you don't know because they already said that they are going to do this, and they're not going to tell anybody. So it's kind of funny that there's huge debates over these numbers and everything, but yet they're just completely fabricated and presented for you just to look at. I'll leave a link down in the description to that video. It was a good one, and nobody talks about that, and not even me. Like, I mean, I kind of forget about it sometimes because, you get caught up in everything else that's happening within the economy, and you kind of think about it. It's just like, man, no, these are just kind of fabricated numbers from the government anyhow. Kind of got lost there on that a little bit. Sorry, guys. So going into the future here, you can already see the dollar starting to strengthen again. A lot of people said, yeah, that's it, dollar's dying, whatever. And I don't believe it. I think the dollar is going to continue to strengthen. I mean, not nonstop. I think there will come a time when people will be very surprised on how much they can get for the dollar. Like, very surprised. Like, dollar will go into bubble territory. And then when it does pop, it'll be horribly all over. Like, everything that the people talk about as far as nightmare scenarios, that is when it'll take place. A lot of people, they don't remember, like, they don't, the history of, like, the Weimar Republic and stuff like that. It's a very interesting story. Like, a lot of people understand and hear about the, rolling of wheelbarrows full of money, but a lot of people don't hear a lot about the story just before the problem of hyperinflation started kicking in. And that when they knew that there was a banking problem, and people went out there and started taking their money out of the bank, which caused a run on the dollar, on not the dollar, their currency, the whatever, what were they using, marks at the time? I can't even remember. But they started having a run on it because people were basically putting mattress money away. They were getting it out of the banks. They were worried about the banking system. And this caused a demand for their currency, which caused a strengthening of their currency. And people were like, still spending the money and everything was going really well out there in the economy, even though they had this banking crisis starting up. Because everybody had pulled their money out of the banking system, the bank was then able to start printing up money to fill the banking system up again. And then it eventually led into hyperinflation. But at first, when they first started pulling that mattress money, started stocking that away, all the people, it created a situation within the economy that looked like things were like their currency was strengthening for just a moment, as that whole time period was taking place, and then off it went. Something very similar to that can happen here, but only on a global scale because we use a global dollar. And if all of a sudden there's this mass demand for dollars, because people are, they don't want any promises from anybody. They don't want the IOUs. They don't want the contracts. They don't want any other currency. They may want gold or silver or Bitcoin or something like that, but they're definitely going to want US dollars. And that demand for US dollars is going to cause the hyperinflation that the Federal Reserve is eventually going to end up printing into, which will destroy the dollar. That is a very likely scenario to take place. I mean, doesn't mean it's going to take place. Absolutely not. Nobody can predict the future. But it seems very reasonable to me that could happen. And so you protect yourself by getting into all assets, into all things. Like to be honest, I wish I had learned a lot more earlier so I could have been into an idea of investing with the compounding interest. But being at 44, my time is cut very short on it. The gift of compounding interest isn't really on my side. Now, it is for my kids, and I hope to set something up for them. But, I can use a little bit of it, but it doesn't really work out too well for me because really the best part of compounding interest is at the very end of it. And right when it starts getting good, I'll have to draw away. So compounding interest, for those of us who are later on who have screwed up, have lost everything, or just starting from scratch, you have to find another way. You have to find stuff that is very either farther out on the risk or harder to work. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people look at real estate as something easy. I listen to a lot of people, and there is a lot of good that comes from real estate. I know a couple of people who have completely funded their retirement off of 3 or 4 rental properties that they have owned for 20, 30 years. That's a pretty good deal. I don't know how many stories I've heard of the completely trashing of the house, where it cost tens of thousands of dollars of repairs 4 times, 5 times to this house because everybody they rented to seems awesome, checks out, everything's great, and they're drunk or druggies or whatever, and it's just, the house ends up getting, hammered on it. The laws that protect the renters are unique to every state, and from what I understand, they are pretty obscured here. I don't know them too personally, but from what I understand, they're tough here for the landlord to deal with sometimes. And like I said, I really couldn't get into it, so I don't know. But I listened to these nightmare scenarios on these things, and it's just like, man, you have to work those properties. It's not like you just buy this thing and you go like, done with that, let the money roll in. Yeah, I mean, if it's a good tenant and the house is in good shape, you probably don't have to do a whole lot to it. But it still takes work, and especially if you end up with situations like with a lot of these guys in the nightmare scenario where they end up trashing the house and you have to, remodel it, 3 times while you own it. Those are not situations that I really want to do at 44 years old. I mean, that's not really the direction I'm looking to head. Now, would it be fun to have a rental property to try and learn, do the business of it? Yeah. But I don't really have time to screw up. And if I screw that up, then I've screwed up buying houses before. And that's why I'm a little leery of getting into real estate, although, it is a great way to get to wealth. So for me, everything is about savings. I mean, everything to me is learning how to save in an environment where saving is just not very, what should I say, beneficial. I mean, that's I guess that's the only way I can really come up with it, because you put your money in the bank and there's like no return on savings. I have some money in a money market account. Since I got out of debt, I just like, okay, so where do I go first? Well, you need to build up a savings and emergency fund. So I'm thinking, okay, at my bank, they offer a money market account. So I opened up a money market account. I put some money in the money market account, thinking, okay, well, at least you get a little bit of interest from this. The interest that I was getting from this that I'm is like nothing. There is nothing there. It's like whether the money is in the money market account or not would make almost no difference as far as on an investment thing. It is literally just a place to place your money, and like I think the interest rate like I got on it last time like literally was like under $1 worth of interest that was accumulated on, I don't even know how much I have in there, $10,000 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And so it was just like, I don't even know why I have it in this thing. And then I'm reading articles about how, a lot of these money market managers and these, money market fund managers aren't taking any more clients. In fact, they've even like lowered or reduced the fees or eliminated the fees completely as far as what they would charge to place money in these money market accounts, because if they charge the fees, the things would go negative. You see, so a lot of these guys, they're like, I don't even understand the point of even having these. And these money market accounts, this is what provides the liquidity, the short-term liquidity to like municipalities and stuff. I mean, it's money market funding goes into a lot of different directions. It can go into short-term paper and stuff like, it's just a lot of different directions, but it's basically provides a short-term liquidity for lending out there. And without it, it really starts to freeze up credit markets out there when it comes to, just the daily day functions, because it's really just meant for like just short term. Like from what I understand, I think it was the Dodd-Frank bill required that these money market accounts have 30% of their holdings in assets that would be liquidable in 7 days. Okay, so that kind of lets you know how quick, how like basically how close to cash these things really are. And they're not doing it for the managers of them. They're not doing it for the people who are putting them in there. They just don't do it for them anymore. But they're needed. It's like a needed thing. So it leads me to believe that's one of the reasons why the Federal Reserve has set up that the lending facility for the municipalities, the municipal lending facility, is because they're worried about that, and they also have one for money market funds too. So if all of a sudden things start drying up there, it's just like they're providing money to the things that are obviously going to start like freezing up, because there's no point to putting money in there, and the fund managers don't even really want to manage them anymore. Right? I mean, this is what it's like. There's an attack on savings. It's not even an attack. It's just like people don't even. It's like getting to the point that there's no even availability of savings anymore, which is kind of strange to think. It's just like there's no place to save. You teach kids when they were younger, like when I remember when I was a kid, like they would open up children's savings accounts. There's no point to doing it anymore. They put a bunch of money in there and it doesn't do anything for them. It's just like, it's just a place like, whether it's in there in a shoebox or whatever, it doesn't make any sense anymore. And so that's where the things like, gold and silver really come into my mind as a decent savings account. Because if you have gold and silver, then you have something that is like outside of the banking system. It is a savings, in my opinion. It's not an investment. I thought of it as an investment at times, and when it ran up to $50, an investment is something that you would sell to try and profit from. I didn't. I was averaged in at probably $25, $30 an ounce, and I watched it tumble all the way down to 15. I think it actually got all the way down to like 13, didn't it? Something like that. So going from 50 down into the teens is a very big lesson for watching, a lot of money just sitting on the table just get depleted. So now when I look at it and I buy silver, I want to buy it when it has low risk of a downside probability. That's when I like to buy silver, because I'm buying it as a savings. If it goes up, awesome. But then it's just like, it's not so awesome because then I stop saving in it. And when I see like everybody going like, man, piss on that dollar. Look at the dollar index. It's down going. It's going to go to 90. It's going to go to 80. It's going to go to, when people are talking about the dollar index crashing and they talk about how much they hate dollars, I'm thinking, unloved, huh? Unloved, unappreciated. Yeah. Still a huge world demand for it and nobody wants it. Right. I don't think so. And so I start saving in dollars. Why? Because at some point it's going to start going back up. And when it does, you're going to start buying more stuff with it. I buy unloved, unappreciated, unwanted things. Things that have low risk of downside probability. That's what I save in. Anyway, I guess I've kind of tied you guys up long enough with that. I don't know if you guys really like those ramblings from the Uneducated Economist, but anyway, let's open it up and see what we have from, I think this is from Phil. I'm pretty sure Phil is the guy who sends me these things, but there's never any notes, and it comes, I think, directly from the vendor or whatever, so. But he always sends me really cool stuff, like, I'm pretty sure it was him who sent me the survival pack and that other little tool knife, just a bunch of cool little things. Oh, the cup. I think, the cup and stuff. Just cool stuff. All right, man. Very interesting. A watch. This is very interesting because you had to have ordered this like a little while ago. I'd imagine a few days ago, at least. And why this is funny is because I'm needing to time my videos. I may be working with I wanted to wait until I actually like confirmed that this was going to happen, but I might be partnering up for at least a year with the radio station who wants to air some of the Uneducated Economist stuff. And I thought, that's pretty cool. And they're a new group getting started, and so I was a little leery at first, but I'm thinking, help promote the Uneducated Economist. Anyway, one of the things they asked is if I was able to time my videos to segment it a little better for them. Like, they would rather have like 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute instead of like, because I just kind of randomly whatever. I don't really pay attention to the time. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I need a stopwatch. And so I was looking, I don't know why I ramble like this for you guys, but anyway, I was looking like online, I was looking at these different stopwatches that I could get. And I'm thinking, I don't need to buy a stopwatch. I mean, there's plenty of stopwatches. There's watches around. I mean, I just need something that just tells me when I've got it to the 10-minute mark or whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to buy the stopwatch online. I'll just wait for one to pop up. Well, the very next day, literally the very next day, I'm walking through the yard at work. I work at a lumber yard. I'm walking through the yard and I find a watch. Right? And I'm like, no way. That's all I needed was something just to give me let me know what the time was. And that, for counting minutes. And I thought, okay, well, obviously it belongs to somebody there. So I asked everybody at work, hey, man, did you drop this? And I left it up so that the customers could see it. And so I left it there for, invisible view for a couple of days. Nobody grabbed it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that's my timepiece that I needed. Around the same time, it looks like somebody was sending me a watch. I know there was a few people who were a little upset with me for talking about the laws of attraction. Call it what you will. I mean, if you have another name for it that makes you touched a little closer to the idea, then go with that, okay? Then that's what it is. To me, I look at it the way I look at it because that's what I believe. It's what I feel is working for me. When you think about something, it's going to happen. Whether you want it to or not. Okay? For example, if you, if you don't want it to, you know, say you don't want to have a bad day at work, and you're just thinking when you wake up in the morning, I don't want a bad day at work, and you're the drive to work, I don't want a bad day at work. You are inevitably going to have a bad day at work. Why? Because you're thinking about a bad day at work. But if you wake up and you think about having a good day at work, showing up early for work, and when you get there, even if the people are grumpy, you're still thinking, nope, I'm going to have a good day at work. They're having a bad day at work. That's why I'm having a good day at work. See, I could be there like them, with them, doing their bad day, but I'm having a good day. And the things that'll happen to you throughout the day will be beneficial. People will bring you something. It's like, hey, man, I was stopping by the coffee stand, thought you might like one too. And all of a sudden you realize, I am having a good day. See, you might have even got that cup of coffee the same, but it might have burned you or dropped it or you spilled it or something like that, and it would have added to your bad day. You see what I'm getting at? The way you feel, the way you think, the way you act, the way you behave, it spreads throughout the rest of the world. It spreads throughout everybody in your community, everybody you touch, everybody you interact with, everything you do. That's how come this watch showed up. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.